on the state. Know if my pops will hear say well done like I like my steak. So guarantee I'm.
Welcome back to another episode of the Off-Season Podcast. I'm your host, Tre Hall. I have my other host here, Efe OVA. Week 5 of the Illinois high school football season is wrapped up. We are halfway through the football season, and it came by fast, man. Like, I remember when we just started. I remember we was here last year, and we was starting the season preview, and then we got midway through the season. It was like, dang, everything moving fast. But sooner than we know it, the IHSA playoffs is going to be here, and then the state championship. But F.A., how are you feeling, my brother?
Look, man, it's only one reason why we here, okay? It's only one reason. I know we gonna talk about a lot of stuff today, but it's only one reason why we showed up today. So, you know what it is. It's a big week, arguably the biggest week of the season up until the playoffs, maybe the state championship. But, yeah.
This may be the game of the year.
I think it has the potential to be completely honest. So, yeah, we got a lot to talk about.
If y'all don't understand why FA is saying that, it's because it's a game that we've been talking about for a few weeks now, ever since, Brother Rice has been off to their hot start. They're 5-0. Mount Carmel was off to their hot start. Obviously, they're 5-0 as well. They will be facing off this week at Mount Carmel. That's a game we've been eyeing all season at this point now, and that's why he's saying that you know why we here.
Yeah,
this is potentially could be probably at this point of the year, it's 100% the biggest game of the year. And it could potentially be the biggest game of the year all year because they won't face each other in the playoffs. Or at least it's more probable than not they won't face each other in the playoffs because of different classes. But, man, Mount Carmel versus Brother Rice, both teams are 5-0. You want to just get into that right now?
We might as well, bro. I ain't going to lie to you.
Yeah,
I ain't going to lie to you, bro.
I mean, one thing we talked about is two things, right? Brother Rice has a very, very, very good defensive line. And Mount Carmel has a very, very, very good offense. And a lot of their people on offense are returning. They obviously have a new quarterback. I wouldn't even say new quarterback. They have a new quarterback that's starting this year because he was on the team last year in Emmett Dowling. But then they also have returning receivers like Quentin Burrell and others. And on the other side of the ball with Brother Rice, they have a great defensive line and King Leggins, Braden Parks. My bad. Yeah. Why did I want to say
Braden Parks? Because you're thinking of Mount Carmel.
Yeah.
Braden Jones.
Yeah, I know. Braden Jones on Mount Carmel side, but Braden Parks on Brother Rice's side. Cam McGee, Brother Rice's side of the ball, defensive side of the ball. Like, it's going to be a very good matchup between Brother Rice's defense and Mount Carmel's offense. And that's why I'm excited to see it. I think the game is going to be very close. What you think, F.A.?
Nah, I don't think so, bro.
Okay, hold on. After all this time, this whole season, you still think it's going to be a blowout?
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be
explain.
Close. All right, so here's the thing. There's stars all over the field. Like, this is going to be the most star-studded game that we see is in terms of talent. Because I think both teams are extremely talented. Like, probably the most amount of Division I players on the field at the same time when both of these teams play. But I'm just going to say, bro, I think it's levels. I think it's levels to the talent, to be completely honest. I think Mount Carmel is something that we haven't seen for a while in terms of talent goes. Quentin Burrell, he's breaking records. Emmett Dowling is on pace to break quarterback records. I think their defensive line, I think as a complete team, they are complete, Mount Carmel. And I think Brother Rice is too. I know we give a lot of credit to the Brother Rice defensive line, but I think they're complete as well. Offensive side of the ball, they have weapons, multiple weapons. They have a leader in CJ Gray. So I think in terms of talent, they're both very talented, but I do believe that it's levels. And I think Mount Carmel is just a step above Brother Rice. I think they're a step above everybody in the state, to be completely honest. So I don't think it's going to be close. I think that they're going to put up a fight. Brother Rice will do well, but I can't see it, bro. Like, watching them play, I can't see it being a close game. I just can't.
Here's what I would say, and this is why I can't see it being a close game. For one thing you called out all year, and obviously it's week. We're going into week 6, right? So I'm sure a lot of the things that you saw in week 1, Mount Carmel has probably cleaned up a lot, and same for Brother Rice. But you did mention, because you have personally watched a lot of Mount Carmel games this year, and you say they still make mistakes. And I think that they're going to be facing a team that can actually capitalize on their mistakes, because I think overall, of any team in the state that we've seen thus far, I think Brother Rice matches up against them perfectly. You mentioned that you saw Lincoln Way. You watched a lot of Lincoln Way East play as well. We'll get into that later with Jonas Williams, but you watch a lot of Lincoln Way East play as well, and you have a different opinion about how you feel Lincoln Way East will match up against them. You honestly think that Brother Rice is probably the number 2 team in the state, not including East St. Louis because they won't play them. But as far as a team that matches up against Mount Carmel, you feel the same way that Brother Rice is the team that matches up against Mount Carmel. I think with Brother Rice going into this game, they're obviously an underdog. Clearly, for one, they're not playing at home. If anybody's ever been at Mount Carmel for any game, but especially a big game, let's say, like, for example, the Loyola game last year, you know how that atmosphere is. That home field advantage is real, especially at Mount Carmel. But coming into that game, I just feel Brother Rice is going to understand that most people are expecting them to lose that game. And I expect them to play harder than ever than any other team that they play, and I expect them to be polished on the offensive end and especially the defensive end. And like I said, that defensive line presence has overwhelmed teams. Obviously, Mount Carmel got some big guys in the middle as well, so we'll see how they face off against, like, you know, the top competition in the state. But I really think that defensive line presence is what helps Brother Rice a lot in this game, and it's helped them the whole season. But I think that's what helps them a lot for sure. We'll see though. I don't think it'll be as lopsided as you would think it would be.
Yeah, I just think Mount Carmel has a lot of firepower, bro. And I get it, like the defensive line is gonna be good, but now you have an offensive line that can match up and hold them to an extent. Like, you know what I mean? So I think that it will be a battle in the trenches, but I just think Mount Carmel has too much firepower. And when you watch them, it's like as overwhelming as you say the defensive line is for Brother Rice, the offense for Mount Carmel is that overwhelming. Whereas, like, you're taking things away, but they have 2, 3, 4 guys that they could get the ball to, and not down the field. I'm talking guys that could take a hitch to the crib, that could take a screen pass to the house. So you got Marshawn Thornton, and then you got Quentin Burrell, Jamari Brown. Like, you have those 3 receivers who've been shredding the state, and I think it's going to be hard on that secondary like it's been for everybody all year. Even when they play Archbishop and you watch the game, it's like, yeah, they weren't running the ball well, but they were throwing the ball all over the field. Emmett was, you know, they were just shredding them, and it was Marshawn Thornton taking slants 60 yards, 70 yards. Like, it's that type of explosive offense. So, yeah, the defensive line is going to be dominant, but I think the Mount Carmel offensive line will be able to hold up and give Emmett a clean pocket to be able to deliver some of these passes. And once they get the ball in their hands, I mean, the defensive line is out of it now. So, you know, I mean,
speed kills.
Yeah, bro. I haven't seen. I've watched Brother Rice play, and like, they're super disruptive playing the teams that they played. But I've seen Mount Carmel play against the best of the best. You know, I don't know where Archbishop is ranked in Ohio right now, but I'm sure they're top 5 in Ohio still at this point.
I'll look it up on Max Prep. I'll look it up based on Max Preps, but I'm pretty sure at that time when they played them, they were the number one team.
Yeah.
In Ohio. But if I look it up right now, they are still the number 1 ranked team according to Max Preps. Number 1 ranked team in Ohio and 64 ranked team in the nation.
Yeah, so yeah, I've just seen enough of Mount Carmel to know, and don't take anything away from their defense as well. Like, you know, we keep on saying,
we talk about offense. Brother Rice defense.
Yeah, but Mount Carmel's defense is like that. In the secondary, the linebackers, the defensive line, they're just as good. Don't forget how you just mentioned Braden Jones, a USC commit edge, Joey Quinn, Vanderbilt edge. Like, they got guys there too as well. So we're talking about, you know, them creating pressure. But let's see how CJ handles the Mount Carmel pressure, because that's something that you have to factor in. So I mean, I think that I just think it's levels at the end of the day, bro. And I mean, Brother Rice proved me wrong. And I think if Brother Rice, if any team is gonna take down Mount Carmel, I think it can be Brother Rice. I think, like you said, they can capitalize on the mistakes that Mount Carmel will make some mistakes. I think they have the possibility to do so, but Brother Rice is going to have to play their best game, and Mount Carmel is going to have to play their worst game for Brother Rice to win this game. That's just how I feel. I don't think Mount Carmel plays their best game and Brother Rice plays their best game and Brother Rice wins. It's no way. It's no way it happens that way. I promise you. I'm sorry. It's no disrespect. No, but I mean, I just call it how it is. And everybody know when they watch us, we calling it how we think it is. There's no bias. But and I've been wrong about Brother Rice twice. I think I said St. Rita will beat them, and I think I said Loyola will win.
But
so
you don't think you're gonna be wrong about this one?
I don't think so, because every time I bet on Mount Carmel, I'm always right, bro. So, but no, I don't think it's gonna be close, man. I'm sorry, I don't think it's gonna be close. I haven't seen anybody contain their offense, and I don't think it's gonna start now. To be completely honest, we haven't seen them held to nothing. We haven't seen them held to 6-12. We haven't seen it. Bishop, they put up 43 points. St. Rita, they put up 35. Naz, they put up 42. St. Ignatius, they put up 41. Bennett, they put up 48. I don't see that stopping anytime soon. A team that's almost averaging 40 points a game, and that tells you everything you need to know about how overwhelming the offense is that they're going to put up points, points. They're going to put points up, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Hey, man, I know you bring it up. I mean, my Brother Rice has put up points too.
Yeah, but against who? You know,
also, so the biggest part is, so your biggest explanation is you feel, I mean, and you probably have a good point in that Brother Rice has been less battle tested than Mount Carmel.
Yeah, I mean, because they put up 43 against Valparaiso, put up 35 against Marist, put up 28 against St. Rita, but these are all also teams that are Valparaiso. What is Valparaiso right now record? Valparaiso is 1-5. Let's see, Marist.
Indiana.
Yep, in Indiana. Marist as well. Isn't Marist?
They just got their first win.
So they're 1-4. All right. So you got two teams with one win that you beat in the first 2 weeks. St. Rita, I believe, just lost this past week. They're 2-3. So you got two one win teams and then one two win team. Let's see. Loyola, I'll give Loyola's valid. St. Patrick, they played just recently, beat them 56-14.
That's a lot of points.
Yeah, but St. Patrick is 3-2. So
that's not a bad team.
No, that's not a bad team. But the first three, one win, and St. Rita with or Marist with one win.
Marist with one win, Valparaiso with one win,
yep.
St. Rita with two wins. So first three games, but they did play Loyola and they did play St. Patrick, 3-win teams.
Yeah.
Did Loyola just win this past week?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, so 3-win teams. So
and then Archbishop is 5-1, the number one team in the state of Ohio. And then of course the St. Rita one. Yep. And then they played Naz. Mount Carmel played Naz, who's 4-1. All right, so you got two teams that are already better than all of the teams that they've played this year. You know, so that's what I'm saying. The difference is the level of competition hasn't been the same, but Brother Rice has been doing what they're supposed to do. I'm not taking anything away from them because of the teams that they played, but I'm just pointing out the difference, and it is levels to Mount Carmel scoring 43 points against Archbishop and Brother Rice scoring 40 points against St. Patrick is two totally different games.
You know, it's funny, and I'm still talking about the Mount Carmel and Brother Rice game, but I remember going to the Brother Rice and Mount Carmel game. I know I'm always talking about how my brothers play for Brother Rice, but I remember the last time I was like physically at a Brother Rice Mount Carmel game it was my brother's senior year, and I did not realize Coach Jordan Lynch was on that team. I'm looking at the roster right now. I don't know if he was the starting. He had to have been the starting QB since his junior year, right? But he was on that team along with Steve Filer. I remember Steve Filer played for the Dalton Bears, and him and my brother played together for Dalton Bears. And Steve Filer went to Mount Carmel, and then my brother went to Brother Rice. But that was the last time I remember even going to a Brother Rice game. I think I had to have been, if that was 07, fall 07, I had to have still been in middle school or at least elementary school. But yeah, and that year, obviously, you know, Mount Carmel was a force to be reckoned with that year. I think they beat them they beat them 28-15. So I'm definitely excited to be able to go back to another game in my adulthood, you know, beyond college and everything, to watch this from a spectator's perspective and a media perspective. It's definitely going to be the game of the year. I remember it being a big game at that time. I think it was even televised at that time as well. But I'm excited to see this matchup for sure. This is 100%. I enjoy going to the games of the year. Last year, I felt like the game of the year last year was Loyola versus Midway East. Obviously, Loyola won that game because they won the state championship. But this year, I mean, this may be every bit of a state championship environment for sure.
I'll
So
definitely everybody pull up, like make it feel like a state championship game. To be completely honest, everybody pull up as many.
everybody's gonna pull up.
Yeah, so I think it's gonna be packed. I think, man, I'm sure everybody's gonna be out. People who went to Brother Rice, people who went to Mount Carmel years ago. I think it's gonna be packed. I think it's gonna feel like a state championship game.
I was talking to my mom and I was telling her about it yesterday when I was with her. She was like, "Oh, Brother Rice playing Mount Carmel, they both undefeated. I may want to go to that game."
Yeah,
she's talking to my dad about it. I'm like, "What? Yeah, I ain't go to a high school game since I was in high school."
Right.
What? But yeah, so it's definitely gonna be a good one. And obviously, to this point, it's the game of the year. It's definitely probably going to be the game of the Catholic League. This game is probably going to be bigger than the game against when Mount Carmel plays Loyola, in my honest opinion. Usually, I know that's usually their biggest game because Loyola, I don't know what that rivalry is called, but it's something familiar. But Loyola is not the team that they were last year. Mount Carmel is every bit of the team they were last year, even better, just because they have experience under their belt now. Technical difficulties there, but like I was saying before, definitely excited to pull up to that game. That is probably state championship atmosphere, and can't wait to pull up to that game to see it on Friday. I think it kicks off sometime around 7:30. I have to look that up to be sure. But Brother Rice versus Mount Carmel, definitely game of the year. Let's do a prediction of that game real quick. Obviously, I know who you're gonna pick, but let's do a score prediction. I don't think we've done a score prediction yet.
No, we haven't. Let's see. I'm gonna go. How many points? I say Brother Rice probably 12. So I'll say, let's go 48-14.
48-4. You got them beating them better than they beat St. Rita?
Yeah.
You're nuts, bro.
Yeah, bro. I think
nuts.
it's gonna be extremely lopsided.
Nuts.
How many points do you think Brother Rice scores on Mount Carmel?
I say they at least put up 21.
I don't think so.
I said they at least put up 20. Nas put up like 21.
I don't think they're going.
You don't think Brother Rice's offense is somewhat on par with Nas's offense? You're nuts. Bro.
I don't think that Mount Carmel is gonna. All right, bro.
You don't believe in Brother Rice. You after all these weeks, you said, all right, now you believe in Brother Rice, and this week you're like, I believe it. Well, so just because they play in Mount Carmel, you don't believe in them? You're nuts, bro. 14, right, bro. Just 14?
Yeah, I think just
and 48. You're nuts, bro. Brother Rice. I mean, Mount Carmel didn't even put it that many points against St. Rita.
All right, man.
You're nuts. At home, they played St. Rita at home.
Yeah, all right, bro.
You're
we gonna
nuts,
see. I think they're gonna put up
nuts.
I think they're gonna at least put up 40. We don't have to say 48, but I'll say they score 40. They're gonna score 40 points. They're gonna score at least 40 points. I will say that Brother Rice 14 points, 2 touchdowns.
I say it'll be a high scoring game. I think it'll be a lot closer, and I don't think it'll be. I do think one team at least gets to 35 for sure. But I don't see it being as lopsided as you saying. 48-14?
Yeah.
49-14? Whatever.
48-14. Yeah.
Bro,
give or take.
I think
we'll just say 40 plus. I'll say 40 plus.
I'm seeing something around 35-21. I do think Mount Carmel is probably the better team, and the only reason I am saying this is because, one, I feel like they have been way more battle tested than Brother Rice. That's a point that I agree with you on. And two, most of their cast is returning, and that was a cast that won the state championship last year. Same with Brother Rice. They have a lot of returning cast members from last year, but they got a first round exit last year. You know what I mean? So I think personally, Mount Carmel is probably the better team. You said it. This is probably one of the best high school football teams you ever seen put together as far as talent on the roster. And I would have to agree with you on that. I do think Mount Carmel is the better team. I do think Mount Carmel will win this game. But I don't think it'll be as lopsided as you saying. If to say that,
I'm telling you, bro, because you're looking at the St. Rita score like St. Rita. That 14 is late game 14. So if they took their foot off the gas, so if Mount Carmel want to beat a team by 70, they could. But it's no point. You're saying Nas put up 23 points. That's like those 23 points are late game 23 points. That's not like beginning of the game and it's competitive. It's like, no, we blowing y'all out, and now obviously you make some changes and you make substitutions and things happen. Bro, if Mount Carmel wanted to destroy teams, they would. I guarantee they put up 48-0 against Bennett. They could have scored 60. You think Emmett played the whole time? You think all these guys played the whole time? No, I'm sure that they took him out at some point. And I didn't see the game, so I'm just speaking from 48-0. So if Mark Carmel wants to punish Brother Rice, I believe that they can punish Brother Rice. I think they're that talented. You'll see. It's just levels, bro. It's levels, man. I'm just telling you, it's levels. And if I'm wrong, I'll be wrong. But from what I've seen with my eyes, Brother Rice is a great team, phenomenal, and they have a couple of stars. But I don't think it's not gonna match the star power that Mark Carmel has on both ends, like either side of the ball. To be completely honest, but I think that offense is so dynamic. I mean, bro, if you watch the Archbishop game, you will know what I'm saying. Like if anybody, no, I'm not saying you. I'm saying the people that's watching us. If you watch that game, like, bro, it's different. It's levels, man. It's levels.
Like I said, I do think Mount Carmel will get a victory, but I don't think it'll be as lopsided, bro. Like you basically calling the way you said that score prediction, you calling Brother Rice some scrubs, bro. That's crazy.
It's not. I promise you. I'm not calling them scrubs. They're a great team, but it's
you're indirectly calling them scrubs. I got you.
No, I promise you, I'm not, bro. Because I don't think they scrubs. I think they're the second best team, and if we're staying true to the whole state, they're the third best team because I can't put them above East St. Louis. But Brother Rice is a phenomenal team, but people we'll understand what Mark Carmel is once everything is all said and done, and we look back 4 years from now, and you'll be like, man, that was probably one of the greatest.
All of those players that's balling in college and in the league.
I'm telling you, bro. Like, come on, and they arguably have NFL. Claude is arguably an NFL talent, and that's rare as an offensive lineman, bro. I'm telling you, like he's NFL talent. He's an NFL prospect. Claude, the offensive lineman that's from Mount Carmel, he's committed to Nebraska.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Dude, I promise you that it's just levels to this. Me saying that Mark Carmel is gonna be lopsided and Mark Carmel is gonna blow Brother Rice out is not me saying Brother Rice is trash. It's just levels to this. If you see the way Quinn is playing, there is nobody on the field that's gonna be able to stop Quinn from getting his. It's like sometimes you have players that's just gonna get theirs regardless. And are you gonna be willing to sell out everything to stop this player? And if you do sell out to stop this player, they have 3 or 4 more other players that you kind of got to worry about. Offensively for Brother Rice, they don't have that type of power, that star power. They don't have that type of talent offensively. Somebody who would just take over the whole game. CJ Gray is great. Great with his feet, he can make plays, but he won't be able to take the game over like a Quinn can. Quinn will score 5 touchdowns in this game very easily. Very easily.
Ew. Whoa.
I'm all right, bro. I'm just all right, bro. All right.
I get you.
Okay.
I'm trolling you a little bit, but jeez,
okay,
bro. It's like, damn. But like I said, I'm excited to pull up to that game.
Yeah.
You gonna pull up to that game too?
For sure. We're gonna be there.
So yeah, I'm excited to pull up to that game. That game will be taking place on Friday, this Friday. But yeah, man, definitely game of the year so far. Both teams are undefeated, 5-0. Definitely great Catholic League matchup, and we will be there. Speaking of pulling up to games, this past week, I personally actually pulled up to the Sandburg's homecoming versus when they faced off against Homewood-Flossmoor. Definitely a lopsided victory for them. I believe the score was 31-7. And Sandburg starts off 5-0 for the first time since 1998. I'm going to repeat that again. 5-0 for the first time since 1998. And I'm going to say something that you said before, Efe. The Coach Murph effect is real. You know what's crazy? I was with, shout out Cash Thompson. He was doing a little bit of the color commentary. You'll see him a lot in the full game highlights or hear him a lot in the full game highlights. But when I was talking to him about it, he kept saying the Coach Murph effect, baby, in full effect. I'm like, wait, did y'all actually say that? And he was like, yeah, we actually do be saying that. And I was like, but yeah, the Coach Murph effect is real, man. How we feeling about that matchup between Sandburg and HF?
To be honest, I wouldn't have predicted that lopsided of a victory, to be completely honest. I was expecting it to be a lot closer. But it's just on par with what we've been saying. And I mean, they got Naperville North next. who I believe they're going to win that game. And it's looking like we're going to get that matchup that we kind of talked about earlier in the season, like them running the table, winning out this season and meeting Lincoln Way East at the end of the season. I think they're on pace to do that, and they're operating very efficiently. I mean, they're making history every week. It's a new accolade for the Sandburg team. So I mean, like you said, the Coach Murph effect is real, man. It's like that culture shift. You see it in real time, like it's happening immediately, like immediate impact, which is something that you would want. Like I'm sure when Sandburg brought Coach Murph in, this was kind of the vision, and I don't know if they knew how long it would take, but it's immediate impact, and the players are operating at a high level. They're playing as a team. They're playing together. They're getting big wins. They've from the beginning, the Naperville Central 5-3 win, 5-3, they won that game, a dog fight, and they beat Richards this year, and which was a huge win, and that's when we put us in the perspective like, okay, they're legit, and they held them to 7 points, and that was right after Richards put up 51 against Crete. And so that showed us what type of defense they had. But yeah, I'm excited for this Sandburg team. I know they're gonna be in 8A. It's gonna be a long road, but this may be a Cinderella story. Like it very well could be. They're gonna have to see some top teams in 8A. Obviously, it's gonna be a tough road, but I mean, I could not have imagined them playing this well, even when I was going to the summer camp. I knew it was gonna be a turnaround because Coach Murph has done this 2 times already. But if you would have asked me, would they be undefeated at this point, looking at the schedule from like the teams from last year and looking at their schedule, I would say Richards probably would have knocked them off. Naperville Central probably would have knocked them off. And they HF, I figured it would be close, but they blew them out 31-7. So it's like they're getting better. They're getting better, so
100%. One thing I
yeah.
want to say, so I didn't know. Obviously, nobody really knows what the score is going to really be. They can only, you can only predict, right? But I suspected it would be lopsided. And there's a few reasons why. One reason why, I'm gonna take it back to summer camp. We saw Richards and HF like match up against each other in summer camp, and I'm gonna just be honest. Obviously, it's summer camp, so we're gonna add that context. It was a summer camp scrimmage back in July, and I wasn't impressed, and you weren't impressed. We was watching it. We was like, but then and reckon there was probably some players that weren't playing in that summer camp because I know Jaden Henry was on a visit with I think Western Illinois at the time. So obviously there were some players that weren't there, probably for both sides of both teams. But like I said again, we weren't impressed with that scrimmage, right? Then let's just fast forward to Sandburg facing Richards. Going into that game, like you said, we predicted the reason why we didn't even get the full game highlight of the game because in our heads we were thinking that it would be a blowout, being Richards will blow out Sandburg. However, it turned out to be the opposite side. Sandburg actually blew out Richards. So in that effect, in that stance, that's when we started looking at Sandburg differently, right? Like obviously in the summer camp tour, I suspected that they would have a good season just because of how organized the team was and everything that was going on there. That I feel like something great here is happening. I just don't know it yet. But when they played Richards, that's when we were like, all right, yeah, this is something is actually happening. Especially because Richards is a good team, notoriously a good team year in and year out. They were a team that we covered a lot last year. But after they beat Richards, we had the discussion that episode after saying that Sandburg could potentially go undefeated all the way up into that Lincoln Way East game, and they could be battling for a conference championship, right? So going into this HF game, and I'm just thinking in my head, I'm thinking like, I don't think it would be close. Another reason why is because homecoming. It was Sandburg's homecoming. Anybody know homecoming atmosphere? Everybody's coming out for that game. I'm talking about alumni. They're going to make sure the student section is coming out. Everybody's going to be at that game. That is a very, very high profile game. And you as a team, we play football. When it's homecoming week, that if it's any game that you don't win that year, I mean, if it's any game that you should win that year, obviously in the playoffs, you should always win. You should try to win every game, right? But if it's one game that you want to make sure that you win, is your homecoming game. And with them already starting off with 4-0, I'm thinking like it's their homecoming game. They're playing at home. They should definitely have that dub, lopsided, in my opinion, right? And then the third reason why I would say it is because HF's head coach, was Sandburg's head coach last year. He actually left Sandburg to take the coaching job at Homewood-Flossmoor, and then that's when Coach Murph came in to take the head coaching job at Sandburg. And you had to have known that was something that the coaches was preaching to them all week to get them fired up. He didn't want to be here. He wanted to be somewhere else. So we got to show him why he should have been here instead. And if I'm a head coach, and I'm pretty sure I heard it before the game, coaches firing him up, you had to have known it was just too much going into that game for Sandburg for them not to obliterate HF. Now, I will say this. Although Sandburg did blow out HF, and I was at the game, I do think a little bit of that final score doesn't tell the whole game, tell the whole story of the game. Because Sandburg did make a lot of mistakes, and I'm more so referring to the a lot of silly penalties. A couple touchdowns got called back because of holding calls. A lot of times the ball was positioned. They was in a 31 situation, turned into a 3rd and long because of a silly, a sportsmanlike conduct after the play and things like that. But the same thing with HF. You know what I mean? Like HF had some silly penalties as well. But so I would say that score, it was a certain point in the game. It was the difference between a 28-7 score game versus a 21-14. That's a completely different game. If you know football, especially high school football, that's a completely different game. 28-7 versus 21-14. But overall, Sandburg did what they had to do. I mean, they have a crazy running back duel in Quinn Durkin and is it Luke Bazorka? Am I pronouncing his name correctly? I think so. I think that's how Cash pronounced it. But anyway, they running back duel in the backfield is arguably probably one of the best running back duels in the state, bro. I mean, it was like a two-headed dragon in the backfield. Early in the game, Quinn Durkin scored a nice little, I don't know, what was it, an 85-yard swing pass from quarterback Sean Ruiz that set the tone really, really early. I got that highlight on our Instagram if you want to check it out. That senior running back Luke Bazorka as well had a phenomenal game as well. That, like I said, I feel like they have probably one of the best duos in the backfield. And then on top of that, I am really going to botch his last name, so I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. But they also had a reception touchdown from Lucas. I'm going to just say his first name. Lucas. Because I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name.
Yeah.
But overall, their offense looks pretty good. But a thing that I was impressed with for sure was their defense. They had a very big stop on a defensive end. That, like I said, was the difference between a 21-14 game versus a 28-7 game where HF could have scored in the second half early as well. But I think Sandburg is for real. I was telling you, I think Sandburg is probably every inch as good as Glenbar West. If I'm doing team comparisons, I think they will match up against a team like Glenbar West will. Like you said, they're going to be in 8A. Glenbar West is one of the top teams in 8A. I think they could even match up well against Lincoln Way East. I think Sandburg is for real. I don't think it's a joke. Like I said, this is their first 5-0 start since 1998.
Crazy.
Cash Thompson told me that this is probably the best Sandburg team he's seen, and he's a senior since he's been there. That's saying something. And once again, the Coach Murph effect is real.
They're going to have to get some shirts for that, for playoffs. That's a Coach Murph effect.
The Coach Murph effect?
I think that'll be dope.
Yeah, I think it would be dope too. But they still got a lot of season left. 4 weeks left in the season, in the regular season. And then obviously that last game of the season, they're going to have to play some tough matchups. I mean, a tough matchup in Lincoln Way East. And ironically, I think that game was on a Thursday, which is
That's
terrible. Yeah. I don't know why. I'll have to see why. But next week, like you said, they play Naperville North. I think they can get a dub against Naperville North. Naperville North is 2-3. And then just looking at the rest of the matchups, they will play Lockport. Lockport is also 2-3. So definitely see them beating Lockport. And then before Lincoln Way East, they will play Neuqua Valley. Neuqua Valley is 2-3. So they have teams for the rest of the season that are currently sitting below 500 right now. So it could potentially fall like how you predicted, or how we predicted. They could potentially go undefeated all the way up into that Lincoln Way East game, playing for a conference championship.
And I think Sandburg is going to be the toughest team Lincoln Way East has played all year.
You think so? Who is Lincoln Way East faced up against?
Maine South, Kankakee, Neuqua Valley, Lockport, Naperville Central, Matea Valley. Homewood-Flossmoor, Naperville North, and then
Have they blown
Sandburg.
out everybody?
Yeah, pretty much. Maine South 40-0, Kankakee 41-0, Neuqua Valley 56-7, Lockport 49-14, Naperville Central 44-7. So they haven't been challenged at all this year, and they haven't really. I mean, shoot, barely given up any touchdowns. The most they given up is 14 to Lockport, and I'm sure probably late game scores. So, yeah, they're Lincoln Way is rolling as they should be.
Lincoln Way is rolling. Sandburg is rolling. Speaking of Lincoln Way, I know there was something that I just put in here about Jonas Williams. Jonas Williams ties the state passing touchdown record as Lincoln Way East rolled over Naperville Central. Jonas Williams, obviously, he's a dog. But you said something interesting when I was talking to you after the Sandburg game is that you feel like, Lincoln Way East, I mean, you just said it, haven't really faced anybody, and their toughest matchup is probably going to be against Sandburg. How do you compare Lincoln Way East to the other top teams in the state?
I can't compare them because is being challenged but them. So I mean, the Main South is probably the toughest game that they play, but I mean, the games that they're winning are games that they're supposed to be winning, and I think it's gonna be extremely difficult going because I mean you have a extremely talented quarterback, obviously, right? So it's not to say that Lincoln Way is a bad team by any means, but you go into 8A where now you're gonna have to see Loyola. You're gonna have to see Mount Carmel. You're gonna have to see Glen. Like these are the teams that you're gonna have to see, and I don't think any of the teams that they've played this year are up to that caliber at all. Nowhere near. So I mean, it looks great beating teams 40, 50 points, and they, when it comes to conference play, they can't control who they play. But I definitely think those first two games should have been powerhouse programs. Kankakee's good, Maine South's good, but not on the level of a Lincoln Way East. Obviously, I mean, neither team scored a point and got beat by 40. So, I mean, when you look at East St. Louis, when you look at Mount Carmel, when you look at Brother Rice, like even Brother Rice, I mean, they have to play Mount Carmel, So, yeah, I don't really value the wins as much, And then when we want to say who's the best team in the state, I think this has to be considered. When you talk about top teams, it has to be considered. So East St. Louis has played a much tougher schedule than Lincoln Way. Brother Rice has played a much tougher schedule than Lincoln Way. Mount Carmel has played a much tougher schedule than Lincoln Way. So, if we're gonna say who's better, I can't consider them better than any of those teams because they aren't playing anybody worth saying that they beat, to be completely honest. So, and we'll see how that plays out in the playoffs because they're gonna have to see these top level teams, and we'll see how it unfolds.
Yeah, 100%. But like I said, that last game of the season, or you just said the last game of the season is probably be their toughest matchup before the playoffs against Sandburg. I'm excited about Sandburg this year. Lincoln Way East, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. I never fought a team for who they match up against, but at the same time, we'll definitely see how they'll face up against each other because that would probably looking to be the conference championship. Obviously, still more games to be played before they actually match up. Still 3 games in between that, but between them and Sandburg matching up, that is a game I'm excited to see. But shout out to Jonas Williams for tying the state passing touchdown record. And I'm sure he will be beating it next week. So that'll be something that we'll talk about next week. But another game that we covered this week was a CPL matchup between Kenwood and Simeon. Kenwood won that game 28-20. They played a game at the stadium. The game actually ended early with 28.6 seconds left due to a scuffle. How are we feeling about that matchup between Kenwood and Simeon?
That was a great game. That was a great game. Went how I expected it to go, a dogfight. All of those 3 CPL teams, Kenwood, Simeon, Morgan Park, they always dogfights, bro. And I mean, I know it ended in a scuffle, but I mean, it happens. It's football. We see scuffles in the NFL and college. Emotions get high. It's a game that both teams want to win. It shows that they care. So I'm glad that nobody got hurt. Everybody made it out safe. That's all that matters. Hate that it ended that way, but a great game. And I think we both called Kenwood winning this game, obviously, just because of, their seasons thus far and the teams that they played, barely getting by, losing to St. Francis barely, by 4 points. So that was a good sign to us. And then obviously beating St. Viator, and St. Francis has played some, some tough competition. They just beat Providence. So that lets you know what type of team Kenwood has to be able to compete with a St. Francis who's beating other Catholic schools and playing a tough schedule. So I felt that, Kenwood will be the better team because they have a great quarterback in Kenyante Lewis, who's really been able to take over all of these games and lead Kenwood in a sense, and they have weapons all over the field. But the crazy thing is, one thing I want to speak about that happened, Kenyante didn't play the first quarter. He was sat because of disciplinary issues. So I respect that.
Seagull settle.
Seagull sat him, and I respect that so much because we need to get back to that accountability. I feel like in this society that we in, it's a soft generation, and even the parents and even the leaders have become a little bit soft, where kids are allowed to act and say and do whatever they want to do with no consequences, in fear of being too hard on them, and all these different things that have been created in this new age. What we're used to. We're used to tough coaching. We're used to tough parenting, and it builds character. It builds a certain type of man or a certain type of woman, and I feel like we've kind of strayed away from those type of principles. So I love Kenwood and Seagull saying, I don't care that you the best player on the field. If you did something wrong, you're going to be held accountable, and whatever happens, because that's life. We can't baby and coddle you and let you do whatever you want to do, and just because we want to win a football game. That's not how it goes. So I respect Kenwood and Seagull and the whole staff for making that decision, knowing it could possibly cost them. That could have been costly. But to still, he don't play the first quarter, get in the game, and still go 11 for 19, 233 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did throw a pick, but hey, it is what it is. You know what I mean? They still put out the victory. So I think that's just the highlight of this whole game, is Kenyante being set and him coming back in and picking right up. Like, I sat a quarter, boom, we back in it. So
what did we just talk about last week? The end goal is not to really win a state championship. It's to mold young men and women. And doing something like that, like you said, coach didn't care about. And that's in a game, in a CPL matchup like that against Simeon, you send your best player. It's like, it's bigger than the game. To me, that tells me that the coach is like, bro, this is bigger than the game. You messed up. You gotta, not necessarily say suffer the consequences, but you gotta learn from your mistakes. You know what I mean? And I don't care if you're the best player on the team. And then when you set him and came back in, he still ball. So, shout out to coach for sitting him. And that's all it was really about. Let's get away from the game and get away from the stats a little bit. Molding young men and women. That's what sports is all about. Let's stop losing sight and thinking that it's only about winning. Obviously, winning is a product of doing the right things, right? You said it yourself last week. Winning is a product of doing the right things. But at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is mold kids into being the best they can be with their personality, whether it's in school, whatever the case may be. This sport, football, baseball, basketball, a coach's job is to mold young men and women to be the best they can be when they're off the court or off the field. So, shout out to coach for doing that. But like you said, he still balled out, 11 for 19, 233 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. But a dub is a dub. I see you put here he has an offer from Kent State. But yeah, I mean, Kenwood, 1 loss this season against St. Francis, 4-1. They played well against St. Francis. They could easily be sitting at 5-0 right now. And St. Francis is still a good team. They only have 1 loss. Their only loss is to Loyola, I believe it was. So yeah. It's going to be a very, 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 I know it's a little early right now. Well, actually, no. It'll be coming up very soon.
Yeah,
that matchup between them and Morgan Park is going to be, it's going to be different from last year for sure.
Yep, and then another player I want to highlight real quick is Lawrence Carr from Kenwood. So he had a big game. He was the star of the game, essentially. He had 3 long touchdowns. He had a 60-yard touchdown catch in the second quarter, an 80-yard kickoff return touchdown at the end of the first half, and an 82-yard touchdown catch in the fourth quarter. And he finished with 5 catches for 197 yards, and he has an offer from Maryland. So I'm not surprised about that offer from Maryland. I'm sure he's going to get many more after this game, but that's big-time players. When you have big time players that can show up, it gives you an opportunity to win every week. So it seems like Kenwood has the athletes. This is obviously Coach Golfer's second season with Kenwood, so it's still building that culture. And some people expect things to come together right away. It don't typically work that way. We just talked about Coach Murph and Sandburg is coming together immediately in the first year. But Kenwood, Coach Golfer, second year, that's fine. They're already tied for their wins last season. So you're already there. You're already on pace. The trajectory is going up. So Kenwood is looking like I would just say they're the top of the CPL right now. In terms of teams that we've seen so far, everybody that we've seen play.
And they have the best record.
Yeah, they have the best record. I would say that they're the top of the CPL, even though, Morgan Park is on this CPL streak of beating teams. But as of right now, as of what I've seen from both teams, I'll have to put Kenwood as the top of the CPL right now. And we'll see when they play. But both teams still winning it, and they're gonna clash soon. So
they will be clashing on October 18th, at 11 a.m. Next few games Kenwood has is against Taft. Taft is a 1-win team, so I suspect they will get a lopsided victory there. And then the following week after that, they will be playing Peyton College Prep, who is still undefeated at this point. So that could potentially be a good game. But who did Peyton College Prep play? Probably a bunch of nobodies, I would have to suspect. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say a bunch of nobodies. Let me hold off what I'm saying. Probably hasn't been as battle tested as Kenwood. So yeah, they got a dub against Corliss, Hyde Park, Taft, Brooks, and Lane Tech just past week. And then they play Clark. So Kenwood, I suspect that they will only have one loss going into that Morgan Park game, and that's probably gonna be our CPL game of the year. I know Simeon versus Morgan Park is always the battle of Vincennes, and that usually takes place last game of the season, but it's going to be an interesting matchup for sure, and I'm excited to see that. We're going to be promoting that a lot when it's a little bit closer, but shout out to Kenwood. Keep rolling. They are 4-1. Although they did match their win total last year, they still have a lot more work to be done, and, we'll continue to be paying attention to them. But shout out Kenwood, great dub against Simeon. And Simeon, although it was 28-20, Simeon seems to have played a good game, for sure. I mean, they had players on their side of the ball that balled out. Quarterback AJ Kroom went 14 for 25, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also had 1 interception. But, seemed like they
Coach Turner just talked about how they just made too many mistakes, and they they gave up too many explosive plays. So that their job was to contain Kenyante, and that's hard to do. It's hard to contain the great players. So
I like this quote right here, because we talked about how Keontae knows how to use his legs a lot, but the thing that Coach Q said is that they wanted to stop Keontae, but he hurt them with his arm instead of his legs. Mm-hmm. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So that tells you just the type of player that Keontae Lewis is. But still, shout out Simeon. I mean, they still got a lot more season left to go. I mean, they've been battle tested early on. They played some tough teams.
Definitely.
But, I suspect when they play Morgan Park at the end of the season, it would be a different game than last year as well. But, shout out to both of those CPL teams. I'm glad. That's a question I want to pose, and it may be too early to pose it. Last year, the CPL was. It was no question who ran the CPL. I mean, it was no question of who was the king of the CPL. Let me just say it straight up. It was Morgan Park. And we were saying that before they played Kenwood. We were saying that before they played Simeon, right? This year, it's looking a little different.
Yeah, is the
CPL, is Chicago Public League football, quote unquote, back?
I think it is. It's always back. If the big three are playing well, it's always back.
We said the big three is Kenwood, Simeon, and Morgan Park.
Yes, at least for football is what I'm saying. When the big three is playing well, CPL is doing good. So I think it is. I think it is back. It's getting back. It's getting back is what I would say. I mean, but in order for it to be back and competitive, Morgan Park has to be knocked off. Like that. That's just that's what I feel. Like for it to be a competitive conversation, because right now is MP. MP is CPL football at this point because they're beating everybody. They haven't lost. So I think if it's more of a conversation where like Kenwood beats Simeon and Simeon beats Morgan Park and Morgan Park beats Kenwood, like the Catholic League, I think it's a little bit more competitive and it's more interesting, but it hasn't been too interesting with Morgan Park just, running through the CPL for the past 2-3 years.
Yeah, I think they just made it 20 straight wins after just beating Phillips 30-0 this past week. So
Yeah, so that's not competitive. That's not a strong, conference if one team has beaten everybody for the last 2 or 3 years. But I think it's going to be a lot more competitive this year. But as of now, the king is still a king. The king got to be dethroned. So I can't say anybody else is the king of Chicago Public League football than Morgan Park. That'll be disrespectful to say because they've earned that title and nobody's taking it away from them. So yeah, Kenwood may look better this year. I feel they may look better as a team and they have a better record, but that don't mean nothing. You still got to beat the king. So I'm definitely looking forward to that matchup.
100%. Another matchup that we have been talking about. Sorry, just to continue down the episode, but another matchup we've been talking about for a few weeks now. Is the matchup between Lincoln Way Central and Bradley Bourbonnais. Bradley Bourbonnais is still undefeated, starting off 5-0. Lincoln Way Central actually only have one loss to Lincoln Way West, and that was last week, but they did bounce back this past week. With a pretty lopsided victory against the Cal, 45-7. How are we feeling about the matchup between I know the game of the week we're saying is between Mount Carmel and Brother Rice, we know, but how are we feeling about the matchup between Lincoln Way Central and Bradley Bourbonnais?
A matchup that I know Bradley wants to get back. They obviously played Lincoln Way Central last year in the quarterfinals, I believe it was. And they failed to them. So I know that that's probably like just a game that they want to get back and they know that they could win. And this year they off to a super hot start. I mean, they've been rolling teams and it hasn't been close. The most that they gave up this season was 22 points to St. Mary's Southside, and I believe that's a St. Louis team who came over and played them at Millikan University, which I think is pretty cool. I love to see that. I want to see more of that high school matchups on the college fields. I think that's dope. But yeah, they're gonna have to win this game. I mean, if they want to get to that next level, and Lincoln Way Central, they're 4-1, so it's not like they're playing a down Lincoln Way Central team. They beat St. Charles East 63-0. They beat Providence 26-14. Beat Stack 43-0. They did lose to Lincoln Way West 17-12, but that was a close one. And then DeKalb, they beat 45-7. And Bradley is going to have to play Lincoln Way West and Lincoln Way Central. So I think this is a good bar for them to be like, okay, if we beat these two teams, all right, we got something to talk about here. And I know our boys at BR, 7A, I know they're the favorite to win it, but Bradley may have something to say about that if they could pull off these two victories, and I think they're going to jump in the rankings if they do. But I think this is the real test for Bradley. They've been beating a lot of teams, but here's the real test right here. Like, cool, you've done what you were supposed to do up until this point, but now we're going to see who you actually are. So I'm excited to see that. And I want to see them have success because they have a lot of great players on both sides of the ball. They're super entertaining to watch, that bad boy defense. So I think it's going to be a good one.
I want to say something. I think Lincoln Way West, Lincoln Way Central, and Bradley Bourbonnais are in a very, I want to say unique position, but they are in a very good position as far as being able to play each other in the regular season. And then they're all potentially probably going to be in 7A, right? They're preparing in the regular season to essentially play each other again in the playoffs. Because they could all, one way or another, not all of them, but one way or another, they could all potentially play each other again
that's true.
in the state playoffs and see each other for a second time, So
Yeah.
that's I know this is an exciting matchup, like you said, for Bradley Bourbonnais. That's a game that they want to have back since they did lose to Lincoln Way Central in the playoffs last year. And then they still have to play Lincoln Way West a couple weeks after, in week 8, I believe they're playing Lincoln Way West. But, yeah, Bradley Bourbonnais is balling. Bad Boys defense. You said the Bad Boys defense is what they call them?
Yeah, they call them the bad boy defense.
Yeah, so, yeah, definitely a good matchup that we're going to see. Definitely a good matchup we're going to eye and get out to. Probably send a videographer too to capture some highlights for us.
For sure.
But
And I want to mention last year they played Lincoln Way Central in the beginning of the season. They lost 28-6. They lost to Lincoln Way West last year 51-7. So, man, and then they lost again to Lincoln Way Central, obviously in the playoffs 28-16. So I mean, it's gonna be a tough one. I feel like, but we'll see who they really are at least. And then, like you mentioned, this is just good, this is good preparation for the playoffs. Like at least you get to play these two teams early on and get a feel for what's happening, make the adjustments. Most teams don't get a rematch in a year. You don't get to play a team that beat you. So it's good that Bradley will have an opportunity to maybe see them. However it happens, and vice versa. You know, it'll
Exactly.
potentially happen again with at least one of these teams. So yeah, I'm excited to see that. I'm glad we kind of own this Bradley wave. I'm enjoying this. So love showing love to teams that we didn't talk about previous years. But yeah,
Yeah,
that should be a good
100%.
one.
But Bradley keep balling. We'll definitely be paying attention to that game next week, and we'll be recapping it next week after it happens. But Bradley is 5-0. Lincoln Way Central is 4-1. Only loss coming to Lincoln Way West. We'll see how all these teams match up against each other once the season is done, and then potentially they'll be playing in the playoffs again, probably against each other, one way or another. But yeah, that's all the games that we covered this past week. Obviously, I'm gonna just say it again: the game of the week next week, Brother Rice versus Mount Carmel. Obviously, I feel differently about how that game would turn out versus FA, although we do think that Mount Carmel will win that game. But I just don't think it'll be as lopsided. FA thinks
Oh,
differently.
you
His
think?
levels.
You
He
said
think his levels to this shit, huh?
yeah. Hold on, wait. So you think Mark Harmon's gonna win? I thought you.
Oh, I do think. Yeah, I do think Mount Carmel's
Oh,
gonna win.
okay.
Like, yeah, I'm a realist, bro. Like, I love Brother Rice, and I obviously going into this game, I'm biased. I grew up going to Brother Rice games. I want Brother Rice to win this game. Yes, Brother Rice. I want them to win. I want them to have a great season. But I'm a realist at the same time. I may not be a realist when it comes to my Chicago Bears at times. I may be a little over delusional and exaggerating, but I'm a realist when it comes to with this. Mount Carmel is the better team. Mount Carmel has been battle tested way more. Mount Carmel has a team, pretty much a returning cast that won a state championship last year. Brother Rice also has a returning cast, but they got bounced in the first round. So it's like I'm a realist, and that offense, although I know I talk about Brother Rice's defense a lot, Mount Carmel has a very good defense, and Mount Carmel's offense is very, very, very electric. And they're still young. You know, a lot of those, Quentin Burrell, only a junior. What was his name? Marcus, was it Marshawn Thornton?
Marshawn Thornton,
Marshawn Thornton,
the
is he a
sophomore.
sophomore? Yeah, he's a
Sophomore.
sophomore. So it's like
Caleb Tucker,
they're gonna be
sophomore.
running stuff for the
Yeah.
next 2 to 3 years.
Yep. Tavares and Rome, juniors.
That's what
So
I'm saying. They're gonna be running stuff for the next 2 to 3 years. And usually I would say the age is a factor because I use that as a factor with Loyola versus BR. But the difference between Loyola's age, them playing a lot of sophomores versus Mount Carmel's Mount Carmel playing a lot of young guys, they were on the field last year at Mount Carmel. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of the guys at Loyola, they weren't the ones that were a part of that championship team. And meaning that they were the driving force in that championship team. Those young guys that's on Mount Carmel team, they were. Quinn Burrell was a big factor in that offense last year. You know what I mean? Marshawn Thornton as well. So I got Mount Carmel in this game, of course. I just don't think it'd be as lopsided just because I do believe in Brother Rice's defensive line presence that if you give the quarterback less time, and I think they will give the quarterback less time, how are you going to get the ball off? You know what I mean? But once like you said, if Mount Carmel's offensive line does hold up and they do have a very good offensive line, what does it matter if Emmett Dowling gets the ball off to his top receivers and it's lightning in the bottle from there, or it's lightning from there?
yeah, I think
Speed
Mark
does
Harmon will
kill,
be able to take advantage of the Brother
and they're
Rice's
at home,
defensive aggressiveness. Yeah, and that
and
adds
Mount Carmel
too.
is at home.
And that environment is
That
gonna be
environment is
crazy.
different, bro.
It's gonna be crazy.
It's
So
different.
we'll see. I'm excited for that one. And
Have you
hey,
been to a
Mike.
Mount Carmel game yet?
No, I
Home
haven't.
game,
This will be my first time going to a Mount
bro. It's
Carmel
different.
football game, playing at home.
It's different, bro.
Yeah.
Like it is like you'll see. I ain't gonna speak too much on it, but it is different. They sideline's not as big, but everything around outside of the stadium and everything they have going on is different, bro. We're gonna have to get there early. You ain't gonna be. I'm telling everybody, if you're going to that game, get there. Try to get there at the start of the sophomore game and I'm only saying this for parking purposes. If you don't get there at the start of the sophomore game, don't expect to find parking, or at least don't expect to find parking close.
Sure.
So definitely get to that game early, but that's a game we'll be eyeing. And season, like I said, we're midway through the season. Next thing you know, we're going to be talking about the IHSA state playoff preview. One thing I want to point out is that we will be previewing the selection show. So I want to talk about that a little early before we are there. So whenever we get to that point, be looking out for us. I think we're going to actually live stream that, the selection show late in October. And yeah, but it's going to be here sooner than we realize. But shout out to all the teams that are balling. Let's switch it over to college football a little bit. Illinois Fighting Illini have a bounce back win against USC. One off of a late game field goal as time expires. You watched that game in its entirety. I was kind of in and out of that game. What's your thoughts of Illini's win after bouncing back from a, demoralizing loss against Indiana?
I think it was a great win for Illinois. Homecoming game, USC, nationally ranked opponent. A great opportunity for obviously to bounce back from Indiana, and we know what type of game they had last week. It was a terrible game for them. They didn't play well. They got destroyed, over at Indiana, and so you had some people questioning like if this team was even ranking worthy, like were they overhyped this whole time? So I think their whole season has kind of been flipped upside down in terms of what it could have been. You being a top 10 team, and you could have really locked in that top 10 team as if you would have beat Indiana, because I mean Indiana just had a close one, I believe, right? They had a close game with Iowa, and they dropped to 19, I believe. Let me check that for me just to make sure.
Real quick. So 20-15, yeah.
It was what?
20-15. They beat Iowa 20-15, but like you said, it was a close one. Iowa's always been like that gritty team though, that they always will have close ones. Yeah.
So, and I believe that Indiana dropped a lot for having a close one with Iowa. But what do they rank now?
It looks like they're 11, but let me check right now. Because usually the Associated Press usually comes out around this time while we're filming. Let's see. So I don't think it's updated yet because we are filming pretty early. Right now they're still sitting at 11, which I think that's where they were at. This is based on last week.
Okay.
Yeah, this is based on last week. So we're a little early. So I'm sure that they would. I don't see them dropping though. I don't see them dropping much. I don't see them dropping at all, to be honest. They got a dub as a dub. Yeah. I think, but a lot of it goes into their opponents' records and their opponents' points scored on them as well. Yeah. So we'll see. But a dub is a dub.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so just back to Illinois. I mean, coming into this game, obviously they got out to a hot start. Got out to an early 14-point lead. Luke Altmaier played amazing. He had a receiving touchdown, a rushing touchdown, and a passing touchdown. And I don't remember the exact stat, but I believe that it hasn't happened since the 90s. I believe that a player has done that. So he played amazing, and the offense played well too. I mean, the offensive line kept a clean pocket for Luke, and this is what it looked like compared to last week, him getting sacked 7 times, and what the offense looked like versus this week where he had a clean pocket. He was able to make his reads, go through his progressions, play in some type of flow, and execute properly. This is the type of offensive performance you can get. You know what I mean? So the offense played well, but they didn't play great. They didn't play phenomenal because they left 14 points on the board. It was 2 times where they got within scoring distance and they fumbled the ball and gave it back. So it's like they continued to keep that door open for USC, and I thought it should have been a blowout. Like they really it shouldn't have come down to a game-winning kick. And I think you could argue the same point for USC. USC turned the ball over. They made some key mistakes. They had an opportunity to score a touchdown on a flea flicker, and they had a illegal man downfield, which took it back. So they also shot themselves in the foot a lot in this game as well. But Illinois' defensive line played great. USC has some guys out, I believe. So they had 2 starters who weren't starting this week, and they also had a secondary player who was out. But so they weren't at their full capability. But U of I did what they were supposed to do. They had a lot of pressure on USC. Jordan Mayava, he played well. He kept them in the game, even though he was getting pressure, even though he was getting hit. He stayed composed, and he kept USC in it. So I think it was a great game in terms of an Illinois football win. But in terms of like college football playoff, or if you're just analyzing it on that type of level, it wasn't a great win. It wasn't a great win because I'm sure USC is probably not going to be ranked now. It was a close win to them. I mean, maybe
USC's
not.
first loss, right?
I'm not sure.
Let me check real quick.
Yeah, check.
I think that's their first loss of the season. So to say that they won't be ranked, I would say is a little bit of a stretch, and they did lose to a rank because you gotta think they lost to a ranked opponent, and it's their first. So that's their first loss. That's their first loss of the season.
So maybe because what are they ranked? What are they ranked now? What was it? 21.
They were ranked 21. So the new rankings hasn't come out yet. I'm sure they're about to come out very, very soon. We're just filming real early today.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't think they won't be ranked. They may just go back. They may go back to 25 because I think they were ranked 25 last week.
Yeah, we'll see.
So yeah, we'll see though
because
they lose to a ranked opponent.
Yeah. A ranked, yeah, okay, we'll see. We'll just see what it comes out as. But I would say that
and a conference matchup.
Yeah, that it'll be low or they'll be out. One of the two. It'll be low or they'll be out.
They're definitely going to go down, and but maybe Illinois goes up to 21.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, they won't go up much.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, it's a good win for them in their season. It's a positive because this was a game you didn't want to lose because you were for sure out if you lost this game. You were for sure out. But now they get a chance to go into a game with some momentum. They playing Purdue, which is a winnable game for them. But Purdue has been playing hard. USC with Purdue, but Purdue has been playing teams hard. And it's not like Illinois is going to go in there and just roll Purdue. So they just need to get past Purdue, and then they'll have the number one team in the country, Ohio State, waiting for them. And I think that is at home. So that's great for them. They get to play them at home. So if they can make that game competitive, however that game's unfold, as long as they don't get blown out, then the cards are kind of like out of your hands because now it just depends on what other teams do. But if they could definitely win out after Ohio State. If they only lose to Ohio State and they win out, I think they just let the cards fall how they may. But that's why that Indiana victory was so important to get, because if they win that game, then you only have one other loss, which is the number one team in the country. You're a solidified top 12 team in the country. So I think the difference of them making it to the playoffs and not was really the Indiana game, to be completely honest. So now the card is out of your hand. Like, you just got to let it fall how they may, but you have to win out from this point on, which I think that they can do.
Yeah, the Ohio State game is going to be their real test, though. But if they end up pulling out that game at home, it will show that they belong in playoff contention for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
But Ohio State,
yeah.
Oh, buddy.
Definitely.
That's going to be a real good one. But they are at home, and that's what they need to be. If they want to even have close of a chance to beat Ohio State, it starts off with playing at home. Having that home field advantage. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be a big game.
You're gonna need Luke Altmaier to step up and play like he did. I mean, 20 for 26, like that's what you want. That's the efficiency that you want. 20 for 26, 328 yards, 2 touchdown passing, obviously the rushing touchdown and the receiving touchdown to add on to that. So if they can play this way and just clean it up a little bit, because 14, this game is a completely different game without them fumbling the ball and scoring distance twice. It's a totally different game. So if that offense just cleans it up a little bit, they have the opportunity to compete with anybody. And I'll say this. We got 2 recruits in Illinois right now who are committed to USC. I think y'all made the wrong decision. Jonas Williams and Braden Jones from Mount Carmel. Both guys committed to USC. I don't know. Y'all may want to reconsider.
May want to flip.
You may want to flip. Come on home, man.
Before they sign the papers.
Man, build this up, man. Build up Illinois, man. You see what they just did. Why go all the way across the country, man? Ball out in the home state. But yeah, man. We gonna see though.
We're gonna see though. But shout out to Illinois for having a bounce back win. Also, shout out to Northwestern. They just beat UCLA. So looks like 2 Illinois teams just beat California teams. One thing I want to bring up, Malik Elzy, former 4-star recruit out of Simeon, just actually decided to, is he entering the transfer portal?
He's entering the transfer portal.
Yeah, the transfer
it's for
portal.
Sure.
Yeah. So, what do you think about Malik Elzy I think it's smart. I mean,
I think it is.
I just answered that for myself, but I think it's smart.
I think it's extremely smart, and I respect it because, kind of in this transfer portal era that we're in, we usually see it immediately. Like, I'm here for my freshman year, I'm not playing, I'm gone. Or any little thing happens, I'm gone. I respect Malik Elzy's move because he at least gave it a real shot, and he really went through it and grinded his way through and tried to make it work in that system, and it just didn't work out for him. So I respect that more because he spent this would have been his 3rd year, but he redshirted, so he didn't burn it. So now he still has 2 years of eligibility left, and he can go wherever he wants to go. And I feel like a former 4-star, he was actually committed to Cincinnati and he flipped to Illinois. So I don't know, maybe revisiting Cincinnati, but I think he has the talent. I think he could go play anywhere, but it's just about what's a good fit for him. And only Malik knows that. We don't know that. But I mean, does he go lower? Does he go to a mid-major and ball out, or does he, stay in, at the top level and go somewhere? Who knows, But I think the opportunity is endless. And I think it's just on him and his family and the people, his team, to kind of decide what's best for him in his future. But I want to see Malik ball, man. Like, he's one of the best players to come out of the CPL. He dominated at Simeon, and I mean, yeah, it just didn't work out, and it happens that way sometimes. A lot of this stuff is system based, and it just doesn't work out. And I know Brad Bielema spoke super highly of Malik when he was asked about it, and said he's a great kid, and he had conversations with him and his family, and he wants nothing more than to see Malik succeed. So to have a head coach that's okay with your move and support you, and I'm sure he's going to help him out find a home. I think it's a great situation, and he still has 2 years, so
2 years
that's still
left,
a
yeah.
lot of time.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see where he goes. I would love for him to stay in Illinois, and maybe we see him at a NIU or something like that. I think that'll be dope. But I'm sure he's gonna still play at a high level. I'm sure.
Yeah, great business decision for sure. Like you say, he has 2 seasons left under his belt with, sitting out. And it was at the 4 or 5 game mark, so perfect
Yeah,
time to
fourth
do
game.
it. He only had 7 receptions this year with 84 receiving yards, so he didn't get on the field this game against USC. Smart decision for sure. But seems like he has his family behind him and everything. I'm sure he's gonna probably make the right decision. That's for him. Obviously, we would love to see it work out at a big time school in the state. Malik Elzy from Simeon's from the state. So, but sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. But I'm sure he'll find a new home very soon.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And well, one more another college team, because I know we don't have this listed, but I know it was something I had mentioned to you. North Central, bro. North Central is rolling right now, man. They're D3, so it's like it don't get a lot of love and attention. Like you typically don't hear kids saying like, "Oh, I went to the North Central game or I'm watching." It's kind of like they're off, which is like, I mean, I get it though, I get it. But man, North Central is balling. They won a national championship last year. Right now, they're off to a 3-0 start, beating University of Wisconsin Oshkosh 45-14. They beat Carthage 62-0, and then they beat Washington University in St. Louis 44-14. And they're currently ranked the number 1 team in the country right now
For D3.
for D3. Yep.
Don't they got a crazy home record as well?
Yeah, they haven't. What was they haven't lost
Lost in like a few years.
29 since 2019 or something
Yeah,
like that. It's been a long time.
Quite a few years.
Yeah, since they lost a home game. But that's one of those programs that Illinois guys should consider, because obviously it's D3, but still they're playing at a high level. And shout out B Wood, shout out Cortez Jones, our guys from TF South who are on that team and playing well. Yeah, I mean it's definitely a valid option, to go play football and play at a high level. You will get you a ring. It's one of those teams where, like, if you go there, you're gonna get a ring. They're gonna win within a 4 or 5 year cycle.
And you're
So
gonna
it's
probably develop well too.
yeah, you're gonna develop. A lot of top guys go to North Central. A lot of D2, D1 guys transfer out and go to North Central. Like, they're a powerhouse program, and I think they should have moved up already. Like, I think they should be a Division
Divisions?
2. Yeah, I think they should be a Division 2 team for sure. I think I could see them playing in the Great Lakes, the GLIAC, with like Wayne State, Grand Valley State, Ferris State, like those Michigan schools. And Roosevelt just went up. And Roosevelt was an NAIA school, and they're in that conference now, playing with like Grand Valley, Ferris, and stuff like that. And I know that North Central can compete with those guys, and they have the facilities to do so. So I think the GLIAC will be a good move for North Central to move up and play, because they played Roosevelt last year, I believe, and they beat them. Hold on, let me see. Let me check right now. They played Roosevelt. Believe that was last year. North Central played Roosevelt in 2023. They beat them 41-7. So I know that North Central could beat a lot of these Division 2 teams, and Yeah, shout out to them. I want to keep on showing them love and highlighting them as much as possible because they're the one team in Illinois, one of the top teams that are balling that has national recognition and they play well every year. So
Yeah,
shout
shout
out
out North Central.
North Central.
Coach Spencer's the coach, right?
Yep. Shout out Coach Spencer. Great
Yeah,
guy. We
shout out
went
them.
there for their they have the mega camps. We were able to cover um 1 year, and so it was amazing facility, amazing staff. It's no coincidence why they're playing so well.
Yep, definitely. I want to bring it back to high school a little bit because I know this is something that we wasn't able to get to last week, and we have been going for a little bit. I want to get into our rankings, the
Okay, cool.
off-season rankings for week 6.
Yeah, I guess we could start with the ones that we don't have much discussion about
Mount Carmel is going to stay at number 1. East
until
St.
they
Louis
lose.
is going to stay at number 2. They just got their first. They played their first home game, so they got
No,
their first home game.
I think it's a second. Oh, first home game. Yeah, first home game.
First home game because the first one got canceled or it's forfeited, but their first home game victory all season home opener. We already knew how East St. Louis would play against Illinois teams, so
Yeah.
they're definitely staying at number 2. Brother Rice is going to definitely stay at number 3 for me, and then Lincoln Way East is going to stay at number 4. Now, and I would have to say probably Glenbard West stays at number 5. Did Glenbard West, who they played just last week?
Let me see.
Let's look.
Yeah, look it up.
They are 5-0, so they just beat. Who they just beat? They just beat Lyons Township in a close one, 24-17. So Glenbard West definitely stays at number 5, and then Loyola probably stays at number 6 because I think they just got a dub as well. But this is where it gets interesting because Batavia just lost
To St. Charles North.
To St. Charles North, in a close one, right? I think St. Charles North scored late, 2 touchdowns late. They had a TD pass with 0.9 seconds left in the game, and then a 2-point conversion to win the game, according to Michael O'Brien's Twitter. But yeah, they rallied from 14 down in 42 seconds to win, and yeah, bro, St. Charles North
Is legit, and St.
they
Charles
would have
North,
to go in.
Yeah, I think so, and I think the only thing that was really keeping them off was like their schedule. Just looking at the teams that they play and just the quality wins, and it was not enough for me to put St. Charles in that top 10. So I mean, they did beat Geneva, they beat Wheaton North. Batavia is clearly the best team that they've played this year, but I mean they're 5-0, So I think we have to award them with that spot. Obviously, Batavia now has 2 losses. They lost to Glenbard West and now St. Charles North. I think St. Charles North has a good case for being in, them being undefeated in conference, undefeated through the season, beating Batavia 43-42. Yeah, I think they have a case for getting in, to be completely honest. But where do they go in at is the question.
So before we put them in, all right. So Batavia, they have to get moved. They can't sit at 7 no more. I would say Nas just beat Joliet Catholic pretty handsomely, I would say. So they would have to go up to 8. So I would put Nas up to 8 just because Nas has played some tough opponents. They did play Mount Carmel. Mount Carmel is still undefeated. And they only have 1 loss this season. They did lose a close. I mean, they did win a close one to IC Prep, College Prep, but a win is a win at the end of the day. And I think IC Prep just lost to Marist, so IC Prep is at 2 losses, but they have 3 wins. So yeah, I would say Nazareth would go up to that 7 spot for Batavia. And then Maine South, I think Maine South just won this past week as well. They would probably have to go up. So will we put who had more impressive victories? Was it Maine South or St. Charles? Well, Montini Catholic is also still undefeated too. So it's
I think
like
Montini.
it's interesting.
I was just gonna say that about Montini because Montini beat Marist, they beat Fenwick, and they beat Marmion. They beat Marmion 47-0.
But Marmion is not the
Yeah,
Marmion of old, though.
yeah, but I just think that Fenwick game solidified Montini in, but they've been dominated. I think Montini has had some
And to be
impressive
in the lower
wins.
class.
Yeah, for them to be a lower class, that like we have to consider that as well. So, I like Montini's wins, to be completely honest, over Maine South and, well, not Nazareth, but over Maine South. I like Montini's wins over Maine South and St. Charles North. I like their
So,
wins more.
so let me see their opponents' records. So Montini beat a team out of state to start the season. They only have 2 wins right now. Then they beat Hillcrest. I don't think Hillcrest only has 2 wins, but they did beat Hillcrest pretty lopsided. Marist only has 1 win, and they beat Marist
By a
pretty early in the
touchdown.
season. And then by a touchdown. And then they did beat Fenwick by a field goal. Fenwick has 4 wins, so they have a team. So far they've only beat one team that's above. Oh, sorry, they beat 2 teams that's above 500. Marmion has 3 wins. So let's compare that to St. Charles's teams that they played as far as wins. St. Charles North. So St. Charles has beat Batavia. Batavia has 3 wins, but Batavia they just playing tough opponents this season,
Yeah.
like as it shows. So
Yep.
does Batavia stay in or they get out?
I,
They have to.
They have to be out.
They have to get out.
yeah,
they have to be out.
They have to.
Unfortunately, and St. Charles North has to come in. St. Charles North beat Wheaton. Wheaton only has 2 wins. They beat Geneva. Geneva is 3-2. Homewood-Flossmoor is 3-2, but I don't think Homewood-Flossmoor is that good of a team, if I'm being honest. And then they did beat Manuka, in all honesty, who has the more impressive wins, Montini Catholic or St. Charles North? Because St. Charles North, every team they beat is only one team they beaten that wasn't above 500, and that's Wheaton North, and all the other teams are above 500.
Yeah, but it's just let me see. They played Geneva. Geneva's 3-2.
Uh-huh.
They played Oswego, and Oswego's good, but they played Larkin, Wheaton Warrenville South.
Wait, who played Oswego? Geneva?
Geneva. Because you said Geneva's 3-2.
So you talking about Geneva's opponents now. So now we get into the weeds with their opponents' victories.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to consider that as well, because I mean, they beat, I would say, let me look at Montini. I think Montini is better than these teams, and let me see. Montini, Hillcrest, Fenwick, obviously not. Lumen, no. I think Fenwick is the best team that
they played,
that Montini played and beat, for sure, no doubt about it.
Look at Fenwick's opponents, because I think Fenwick has some pretty tough opponents. Let me see. Nah. Their only impressive win really is against Joliet Catholic.
Yeah, so I would have to say St. Charles North has the tougher schedule and the better wins, the better quality wins, and beating Batavia. Batavia is better than every team that Montini's played, so I definitely would have to say St. Charles North has the stronger schedule and the better wins. So yeah.
So maybe we say this: we take Batavia out. We agree on that. We move Nazareth up to 7. We remove Maine South up to 8. And then we put St. Charles North at 9.
Yeah, at 9.
And Montini Catholic stays at 10.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So right now we would have it sitting as Mount Carmel number 1. Obviously, Mount Carmel is clearly our favorite team to win 8A, but also they're probably the best team in the state. They got, as we said in this episode, as we've been saying it, they won a state championship with a lot of their key players that's on this roster this year. Only main difference is on that quarterback position at Emmett Dowling, but even with him stepping up as the starting quarterback, Mount Carmel doesn't lose a step. They're actually a better team because they have matured with a lot of those young players that are still stars on their team this year, and they're our favorite to win 8A. So we got Mount Carmel at number 1. East St. Louis is at number 2. They have faced some tough opponents, out-of-state opponents, I should add.
The toughest.
The toughest. They lost to Bergen Catholic first week of the season, but that's the number 1 team in New Jersey. I think they probably still are the number 1 team in New Jersey, but I will have to fact check that. And then they also lost to Bishop Gorman, which is top 3, top 5 team in the nation. So they've clearly been battle tested, but then once they started playing games in the state, as you predicted, FA, they will blow them out. They put up 60 points against Alton. And then they just had, I'm pretty sure, another lopsided victory this week. Let me check real quick.
Yeah, they put up 60
against
again.
Belleville West.
Yeah.
They put up 60 again?
Yeah, I believe they put up 60 again. Let me see. 67-0.
It's funny you call that, right?
Yeah.
You said, when they start playing Illinois teams again, I'm pretty sure it's going to be 60-something to 12.
Yeah, bro. It's just levels. It's levels to this, so.
Is that a case? Well, nah, because I
What?
guess I was about to say, do we have a case to put East St. Louis back at number one with these lopsided? Nah, maybe not.
I mean,
Be-
here's the thing. Here's the thing with
Nah,
that.
because
And
Alton doesn't have a win this year, so they supposed to blow out Alton.
yeah,
And then Belleville West has 2 wins this season, so they were
yeah,
supposed to do
no,
that to these
I
teams.
don't think the case. Here's the thing. There can be a case because the teams that they play throughout the duration of the season, it won't even matter. And I even say that going all the way through, like
Even to
even them playing.
IMG,
Well, no, no,
IMG.
not no, no, no. I'm no in terms of like if we're comparing in Illinois, like to the teams in
Okay.
Illinois. That's why it's kind of like the East St. Louis. It's hard for us to compare them to any other teams because they're doing things nobody else is doing. So in theory, they're the clear cut number one team in the country. I mean, in the state, in theory, because they're playing IMG, they're playing Bergen Catholic, they play Bishop Gorman, and it doesn't even matter if they win or lose those games. It's the fact that they're competing in those games against the top teams in the country versus Illinois schools who are not playing nowhere near that level of competition. So it's like in theory they would be the best because from a skill aspect they are better than all of the teams in Illinois. Mount Carmel is probably the only true team in Illinois that can compare to a East St. Louis. You know, so I mean, one or two is valid. I believe I do truly believe that Mount Carmel, from a talent aspect, is just as good as East St. Louis. But I mean, you can argue one or two. To be completely honest, like if somebody said East St. Louis is the number one team, you would have to just respect it. It's not really much to argue there. But in terms of competition, East St. Louis is playing the best teams in the country, no, by far. You know, nobody else is playing their level of competition. They're out there competing. You don't see 60-0. You don't see them going to play teams and they getting beat 50-60-0. So, I mean, it's interchangeable to be completely honest. But just going off of what Mount Carmel has done in state and the teams they have to play in state, yeah, I will have to give number one on Mount Carmel. Because even in the playoffs, East St. Louis won't play anybody. I mean, the toughest team is probably going to be Nash because JC is not the JC they were last year. So,
And they probably won't, because they probably won't make the playoffs this year because they still have to pay. JCA still has to face off against Mount Carmel. So
yeah. So, I mean, yeah, East St. Louis is pray for 6A. You know, that
yeah,
I keep on saying that.
6A shut it down.
Yeah, shut it down because I don't see anybody there that can. And you, I think Cary Grove is in 5A this year. You told me, right?
Yep.
And
Cary Groves in five.
What about Prairie Ridge? Are they 5A too?
Prairie Ridge is 5A as
Oh
well.
yeah, yeah. So it's pretty much done. It's pretty much over.
Yeah. So, and I'm not sure. I know Cary Grove has some early losses or
So
loss at the
yeah,
beginning of the season.
Prairie Ridge beat Cary
Oh
Grove.
yeah. So
Yep.
Cary
So
Grove. So yeah, but continuing down the rankings. So right now we have Mount Carmel, East St. Louis at number 2, Mount Carmel at number 1. Brother Rice is sitting at number 3. This is something that we were actually debating about last week. I felt Brother Rice, although I do love Brother Rice, I felt that they were the number 14, but you said you feel like they're better than Lincoln Way East. I want you to elaborate on that a little bit and why we have them at number 3
yeah.
versus
So
number 4 over Lincoln Way East.
let me pull up. All right. So yeah. So for me, the reason why I feel like Brother Rice is better because for one competition that they have to play this year, we just kind of went through Lincoln Way East's schedule and we named off all of the teams and it's like, okay, you're winning these games by 30, 40 points, but you're not playing teams that can compete with you on that level. You know, so I mean, you take Brother Rice, who's playing Loyola Academy, historically great, obviously beat Lincoln Way East all of the other times that they've played. They're gonna have to see Mount Carmel. They played St. Rita. They played Marist, even though Marist is having a down year. But just that you see those names, and then you go to Lincoln Way East where they played Kankakee. You know, Kankakee is a good team, but are they on the level of a Mount Carmel? Are they on the level of a Loyola? I don't think so. You know, and so Lincoln Way East hasn't played their toughest game yet. And when they do, it's probably going to be Sandburg. And is Sandburg a Mount Carmel? No, I would not say that. Is Sandburg a Loyola? I wouldn't say that. Is Sandburg a St. Rita? That's debatable. You know, but I wouldn't even necessarily say that either. You know, so and then from a talent aspect, Brother Rice, talent wise, like we know Lincoln Way East has Blaze LaVista, they have Jonas Williams, they have Brody Gish, they have a lot of these weapons. But from a talent aspect, I think Brother Rice is even a step above them in talent as a full team. Obviously, the defensive line for Brother Rice is star-studded, but you also got CJ Gray and you got weapons, you got receivers. I think that Brother Rice is genuinely the better team than Lincoln Way East, and they have multiple chances to prove it. Lincoln Way East won't get to prove anything because they're just Lincoln Way East. So They've been good. They were good last year. They have the top quarterback in the state of Illinois, one of the top quarterbacks in the country. Cool. But what have you done this season? I would have to say that you
Other
haven't.
than blow teams out.
Yeah, but blow teams out that are supposed to be blown out. But you haven't faced a team that hit you, that's gonna hit you in the mouth. That's what I think. You haven't faced a team that's gonna put you through any adversity. So I can't.
Even in Maine South, first game of the season.
Even Maine South, that's a good team, but is Maine South or Mount Carmel? Is Maine South or Loyola? It's not that feel. It's not that level of competition. Even though Maine South is good, but it's not to that standard of the three teams that we just named. Mount Carmel has played much better competition. East St. Louis has played much better competition than anybody in the state. And Mount Carmel, Brother Rice, and East St. Louis, those three teams have the schedule is much tougher, and they've all faced that adversity in some type of way. Brother Rice is going to face adversity, and they have faced some adversity. Mount Carmel faced adversity the first week of the season with Archbishop. East St. Louis faced adversity the first 2 weeks, and they got more coming up with IMG. So I can't put Lincoln Way East over those three teams. I just can't do it. Just based off of what are you doing, not based off of who you are. What have you done? What are you doing currently? And I don't think they've done enough. I don't think they've shown enough. They haven't shown more than these three teams that I just named.
Okay, so and that's the reason why we have Brother Rice at number 3 and Lincoln Way East at number 4. Continuing down the list, number 5, Glenboro West. I think Glenboro West is in a perfect spot because, for one, Glenboro West is still undefeated. But 2, Glenboro West has faced some very good opponents. You know, they have a very convincing victory against Joliet Catholic, and then also they played Batavia first game of the season. They won in a close one. Glenboro West is 100% for real.
Yeah, and they just beat Lions.
And they just beat Lions Township. Yeah, I forgot to mention that.
Yep, a team that was in our rankings for the first 3 weeks of the season. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, so Glenboro West sitting at number 5. I think it makes sense, and they have their starting quarterback back, and I think they're a better team with their starting quarterback, but they're still a good team with their backup quarterback. Isn't that a great thing to say? Man, you're a good team with or without your starting quarterback, or you're a good team with either one of your quarterbacks. You're still a good team. That's a great thing to say, and that's probably one of the reasons why I think they're sitting perfectly at number 5 and still are 5-0. Loyola is number 6. Obviously, their only loss to the season comes to Brother Rice. Brother Rice we have at number 3. Loyola sitting at number 6. They did beat St. Francis. They did beat Maryville to begin the season. And they just had a good victory last week as well. Having them at number 6, 3-1 record. I know they didn't play week 2. But Loyola, young team, but still, like I said, one of the things that Loyola is going to always be is a disciplined team. They were disciplined last year. And they're still pretty, I would suspect they can probably have some work to do on the disciplinary end, but I think they're going to be one of the most disciplined teams going into the state playoffs this year for sure, and they only have one loss. But we'll see how they match up against a lot of the other great teams in the state these over these next coming weeks, and then they will be playing Mount Carmel to end the season before the playoffs in week 9. So, but Loyola's in at number 6. We have taken Batavia out, and we have moved up Nazareth to number 7. Maine South at number 8, and then Maine South at number 8, and then St. Charles North at number 9, and then Montini Catholic sitting at number 10. Any remarks you want to make for these last few teams?
Yeah, and so essentially having St. Charles North obviously getting in after beating Batavia, and Batavia has been in our ranking up until this point, and they've played well. They had the early loss to Glenboro West, but still is a great team, and I still think it still has the capability on making a run. So St. Charles North definitely deserves to be there. They're still undefeated. Some big time wins. So yeah, those are the big changes. In Montini, I'm interested to see Montini as well, keeping them at 10, and I believe they're the lowest. They're in the lowest class on the ranking list right now currently. Right, 4A is the lowest. Yep,
and they dominated 3As.
Yep. So 4A team who can compete with looks like anybody in the state, to be completely honest. Big win over Fenwick. Just blew out Marmion Military Academy. So they are reigning state champs and looking to go back in 4A.
Yeah, for sure. And Israel Abrams has been playing pretty darn good. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the state, if not arguably the top quarterback in the state. But yeah, I think we have Montini Catholic sitting in. The only reason we even have this sitting at 10 is because St. Charles North has had way more impressive victories, but Montini has had, like you said, some impressive victories as well. But yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I like it. I like
Naz
how we
is
have
still
this.
there. We'll see what big games do Naz have? Nazareth have for the rest of the season.
They're in the Catholic League, so I'm sure they have quite a few left. So let's see.
So Naz 4-1. It's losing to Mount Carmel 42-23, which is Mount Carmel. Beat Kankakee, beat Morgan Park, beat Immaculate Conception, beat Joliet Catholic. But for the rest of the season, they have St. Rita and they have St. Francis. And the thing about Catholic schools is like I can't look at a team like St. Rita and be like, oh, they're gonna win, or look at St. Francis like, oh, they're gonna win. With the Catholic League, anybody has the ability to win any game. So they still have, I would say, 2 tough matchups to finish the season. That's going to be St. Rita next week and then St. Francis at the end of the season. And St. Francis is obvious. They're rolling. They just beat Providence 47-35 and they're 4-1. And their only loss was to Loyola this year. Yeah, I think that St. Francis game, for St. Francis and Naz, will be pretty good.
Yep, and I think they played in the playoffs last year too.
Yeah, and didn't they have a crazy regular season game where they played too last year?
Yeah,
on a controversial catch.
Yeah, I think St. Francis won that game, right?
Yeah, they did.
And then Nazareth came into the playoffs and I think blew them out. Oh no, they 40-21. Yeah, kind of lopsided victory. Yeah,
so I like these rankings, and I like to see how some of those other teams kind of start progressing towards that, because I know we mentioned Sandburg, and if they can run the table, Bradley, those are like teams that are on the bubble who are still undefeated up until this point, but we don't know
like
how things are going to unfold. Yeah, it's
levels to this.
But
Bradley, you think Sandburg or anybody's better than a Montini Catholic?
No, I don't think so.
I've said it earlier in the episode. I think Sandburg is on par with Glenbar West, but I do understand that it's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to be done. But
yeah,
but I think the team that could very well have a plead a case is Bradley. If they can beat Lincoln Way West and Lincoln Way Central, I think they played them back to back too. That's gonna be tough. I think is right.
No, it's every so they play Lincoln Way Central, then they have a week where they play another team, and then they'll play West the following week.
Well, close enough.
Close enough, yeah.
Close enough. One game away, but yeah. Excuse me. But yeah, I think Bradley, they'll have a case. If they can win both of those games, Bradley for sure has a case to be in as a top 10 team in the state for sure.
100%.
Well, that's crazy, man. Yeah, we coming along.
But we here, man. Halfway through the season, a lot of great football left to be played. A lot of great football has been played already. I cannot wait. It's going to get, like I said, the state playoffs is going to be here sooner than we realize. Keep following the offseason podcast. We'll be back every single week, recapping the previous week. And then just going to plug it again. Brother Rice versus Mount Carmel. That is the game of the week.
Everybody
game of the year to this point.
Everybody pull up, man. We gonna be
there early.
We want to chop it up with everybody, and we want it to be a good game. And everybody, all the videographers, photographers. I know Mount Carmel not gonna let everybody in though, so get in if you can. You don't want to miss this one, for sure.
Don't want to miss this one. I know Slow Shake's probably gonna be there, probably do a sideline story. So
yeah,
it's gonna be a good one, bro. It's gonna be a good one. I'm excited to see it, and we'll see how everything plays out. But man, any last remarks? Anything you want to say before we close this episode out? We've been going for a little while, but also got to catch the Bears. Shout out to Chicago Bears.
The Bears.
Let's get a dub this today against the Raiders, man. Come on, let's go.
No, man, y'all got a lot of injuries this week. A lot of guys out, so some guys questionable, and I don't know.
And we're on the road too.
What you thinking?
Hey, man, anything's possible, and I believe in C-Dub 18.
He did play great.
I believe in C-Dub 18, baby.
Yeah, I hope he gets. And this is the one thing with this Bears thing. Like, I want to see them gradually build. Like, just keep on building. I don't have extreme expectations now. It's a new system. He still is in his second year. Like, just give it time. And if we could just build off of the momentum from last week, how they played Dallas, and just progressively get better and better and better, I think they'll be fine. Yeah, I can't wait to watch the game though. They coming off a win, they got some momentum, and we'll see. They're in Vegas though, so and, I know Darnell Wright is out, and that defensive line for the Raiders. If you know how it goes, if pressure gets there, and you know it kind of happens with the Bears and Caleb Williams when it's pressure. So we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see. But shout out the Bears, Bears, bear down. Any other closing remarks before I close it out?
Nah, man. Hey, don't troll us too crazy if we wrong about BR, man. Hey, Mike, I know Mike, we gonna get clipped by Mike probably. I'm sure.
Hey, troll us. I don't care.
Uh,
I don't care, but it'll be a good game to say the least for sure.
For
But
sure,
this is the Off-Season Podcast, episode 38. We out.